Hi book buds, welcome to the first ever video on this new channel. My name is Shaun, she, her, hers, and I'm a stay-at-home mom who was in desperate need of a creative outlet. So enter this new booktube and my beloved reading journal. I don't really know what business I have starting a booktube when the number of books that I read each year is basically what the booktubers that I watch read in like a month or two. But I figured if I can have a reading journal, then why not have a booktube too? I feel like my background in reading is very similar to a lot of folks. I was a huge reader as a child. I was an only child and deeply lonely, so books were kind of my friends. I would hole myself up into my room and just read for hours on end. I read like upwards of 100 books a year. I majored in English in college twice. Yes, you heard that, twice. And I really attribute the tanking I had for my love of reading to being forced to read books that I hated. So in 2017, I really started rekindling my love of reading. And it's been a slow going journey, but here we are. And I feel like I'm back, finally out of a reading slump for several years. I would say I enjoy an array of different genres, but right now I feel like horror and thrillers are really something I'm vibing with. I also enjoy some literary fiction. I'm not really like a romance girly. That's kind of the one genre that I don't often find myself dipping my toes in. My bookshelf has about 120-ish books on it, and I'm embarrassed to admit that I have only read maybe a fifth of those. I am actively trying to get that physical TBR down though. My goal for this year is to read 24 books. That is the most number of books that I'll have read in several years. So I feel like it's ambitious, especially since I'm a mom who really only reads physical books, but I'm kind of on the path to actually making it work as of recording this, so I'm very proud of myself. I also started my reading journal with the hopes that like having something fun and creative to get to do after finishing reading would encourage me to read some more. So what can you expect from my channel? TBRs, what are on my bookshelves, book hauls and unhauls, maybe some reading vlogs here and there, but mostly I feel like this channel is going to be updates of my reading journal and the book reviews that come along with that. That leads me to the next portion of this video, my reading journal flip through. I am not kidding when I say I am absolutely obsessed with this journal. I'm on Storygraph. I was on Goodreads, but I've never had anything physical, so I'm really excited. I got very hyper fixated on starting out this journal, so I spent like easily 3 weeks like very obsessed with all of the opening spreads and just setting it up. If you are not interested in going through the flip through with any context, at the very end of the video I am going to have just a quick flip through of all the different spreads prior to the monthly spreads. However, I do want to say that that video was filmed before disaster struck. So I had noticed that my journal was getting a little bit dirty, which you'll see in some footage. Also, you'll see me realize that my copper dining room table was staining the light linen of this journal. And I had what I thought at the time was a very brilliant idea to take a Tide to Go stick and try and remove the stains. Well, it turns out that was not, in fact, a brilliant idea, and the liquid from the stain remover seeped through the cover and caused a lot of bleeding to all of my ink. When I tell you that I was devastated, I cried so hard, and I even had a brief moment where I thought I was just going to scrap this journal and go and start another one. I was tracing over the spreads from this journal into this new journal, and I got about a third of the way through before I realized that I was not in love with it the way that I loved this original. It just felt rushed, and it didn't feel like there was as much love and attention to it. So I swallowed my perfectionist tendencies and decided to go back to this journal despite some pretty significant pen bleeding and some staining on unused pages. You'll see what I mean when I go through the flip through, and I would be really curious to know if you would have kept going in this journal or if you would have just completely scrapped it and started fresh. Let me know in the comments below. All of that being said, let's go to the flat lay. First, let's talk about my tools. I am a chronic hobby starter, and that can get very expensive very quickly. So for this reading journal, your girl's trying to be pretty frugal. So I'm gonna use what I have, starting with this beautiful journal. It's a paper chase journal, and the cover is actually embroidered, which is what really drew me to it in the first place. The back is just printed. It's so dirty. This is actually probably from my copper table. I think I should maybe use, yeah, I think I need to use something under this. What a bummer. Okay, anyway, I went through it, and this is all the pages that I tore out that were kind of silly. I'll talk about those in a second. I got this book back when I was an elementary education major, and I was initially using it to write down thoughts on different kids' books that I wanted to have in my school library. So I left the pages in this journal that I had written previously that were bookish. I just thought that was kind of cute to leave those there. Here you can see that I have just my sort of reference page telling me how many lines there are, how big each space is, different marker testers. ADHD Bookshelf is a dear friend of mine's Bookstagram. And then this is kind of the last page that I left in here. I found this stereotyping people by their favorite author list on the internet a decade ago at least, and I just thought it was super silly, so I copied it in here, and I left it in just because it's bookish. The next tool that I'm using is a Papermate Flare medium tip. It's a 0.7 millimeter tip pen. The next thing that I'm using is this Tombow dual tip brush pen. It's the 850. It's kind of like a light peachy color. You can see right here. And then I have my just Pilot G2 mechanical pencil that I pre-write the majority of my spreads in, and then just an eraser. I also am using stickers that I print out myself. So I'm using just like my regular Epson EcoTank printer, and I have sticker paper in a matte white color from the paper plan store on Amazon. And so I'll just print out whole sheets of stickers and such. So back to these ripped out pages, I am keeping them because this paper is a cream color paper. It is not a pure white. So if I make a mistake, I cannot white it out because it's very clear that it is whited out. I am a recovering perfectionist. I am not recovered. So I can't possibly have it looking a hot mess. So now we're back to the real-time version of my book journal, where you're going to see the disastrous impacts of the Tide to Go stick debacle of 2024. But we're gonna start off with my title page. So I just have Reading is Hot in a bunch of different fonts over here, and I love how it turned out. Here's all the pages that I ripped out beforehand, and then this is my lovely title page collage, my reading journal 2024 of just a bunch of hot people reading. It's all centered around Kristen Stewart reading Macho Sluts and Love Lies Bleeding. It is my goal in life to find a copy of Macho Sluts because it has been out of print for decades. Next, I have my contents page, and here's the first casualties from the Tide to Go stick. It bled through all the corner, like the entire corner, top corner of pretty much all of the pages you'll see further along. I don't know if you can tell on here that this is a piece of paper stuck on top of it. Initially, I had written on here index, and I kind of just did it without thinking because that's what I saw several other reading journal folks do. But then I was like, wait a second, the index goes at the back of the book. What they mean is table of contents. So I don't know where like the misinformation began of calling this an index, but that is not right. So I changed it to reflect the correct terminology, and I'll go through as the months go on and mark these pages because I did not plan out my monthly spreads in advance. Next page, I have a preface, I just wanted to have a little journal entry of why I started this reading journal in the first place, kind of to remind myself of the point of this whole thing. This is meant to be fun. It's meant to be low pressure. It's meant to give me a creative outlet, something that I can look forward to. It's meant to encourage me to read more. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to have a why reminder in the reading journal. And this is my prologue title page. I have to say, I am so proud of this journal. I'm so obsessed and in love with it. It honestly doesn't feel healthy, but I just love it so freaking much. So the first spread in my prologue is my 2024 reading goals. I feel like I'm gonna say this so many times, but I am obsessed with this spread. I found most of the inspiration for these spreads on Pinterest and just other reading journal YouTubers. So I will try and link as many below as I can remember. I don't remember who specifically did this because I think I saw it from someone else who was influenced by someone. I will try and remember who it was and link them down below. I have my actual reading goals here. So my goal is to read overall 24 books. I want to read 12 of my own books to try and get that physical TBR down. I'm going to denote that by coloring in the spine with this peachy color. I want to annotate 5 books, and so when I annotate, I'm going to have the little sparkles on it. So you'll see here, Pride and Prejudice. I annotated that. And then I want to read 8 nonfiction. I have an obscene amount of nonfiction, even though I don't really know that I love reading nonfiction, but I have so much of it. So I want to try and make a dent in my nonfiction TBR as well. So I'll denote that with a little NF on the spine. So I'm kind of killing it on the nonfiction game already. I am participating in the St. Martin's Press boycott. So one of the books that I read this year was published by them. So I'm just covering it up. If you don't know about the boycott, there's so much information about it online, but basically it is a marketing only boycott. You are still able to read, buy the books, but the point is to not talk about them and market them for free for these publishers. A little nod to being a mom down here. This is my cat. I am obsessed with my little bust up here. I just have never seen someone do like a Black woman before, so I was really excited to have a sweet fro here. I am so obsessed with this spread. It brings me immense joy whenever I look at it. The only thing I don't like is this little book stand here is trash. I wish I'd done something differently, but that's fine. So next we have my 24 books in 2024. These are just all stickers that I printed out of the book covers of all the books that I want to read. I made this a little Dutch door, and because I am the most extra person. I cut out some of the extra paper and did a little reinforced corner here. I am such a mood reader that coming up with lists like this honestly is silly because I don't know how much I'm actually going to stick to it because I just don't vibe with things sometimes. So because I started this book in May, some of these books I had already read, so that's how they ended up on this list. So that might be cheating a little bit, but again, like I started in May, better late than never. And yeah, the vast majority of these I do own, but this is a library read that I just checked out. It's on my summer TBR. It was really important to me to read something from Palestinian authors this year. Next is my rating system. I'd say I'm a very generous rater, with the vast majority of my reads being 4 stars or above. If it is 2 stars or below, I will not put the rating on Storygraph. Book enjoyment is so subjective that I just don't think it's fair for me to ding an author because I just didn't enjoy their book, or perhaps it wasn't written for me. There are some books that I just won't even rate. So my rating system is as follows: 5 stars. If this isn't on your TBR, what are you doing? I actually don't give a lot of 5 stars because I don't think that like every book is for everybody. So 5 stars come out when I'm like, literally everyone in the world needs to read this. Or like, if it's a gardening book, for instance, and I give it 5 stars, it's like anyone who gardens absolutely has to read this book. So that's kind of how I give my 5 stars, 4.5 stars. So like this means that I loved this book. Little heart eyes emoji here. I will be rereading it again. I highly recommend it to folks. 4 is I enjoyed this and you might too. I feel like most of my reads fall around a 4 star. 3 stars, it's good but flawed. There was something about it that I didn't love. Like overall I thought it was good, but maybe I hated the main character, or I thought the plot was a little murky, or I don't know, there was just something about it that didn't quite like make it something that I would recommend to people. It just kind of fell flat. That's what I would say a 3 star is. A 2 star, again, reading is so subjective. So it's like hard for me to be like, I hated this book and no one should read it. So I'm more like a 2 star is like, I didn't like it, but you might. Like, so I'll give it a 2 star, but you might not. So yeah, it's hard for me to give out 2 and 1 stars. And 1 star though, I recommend this to literally no one. Throw the book in the garbage. I will say I don't rate DNFs. I don't think it's fair for me to rate a book that I didn't finish. And it's pretty rare that I'll give a book 1 star. Next up are gonna be my monthly stats. So in this section, I'm tracking the pages that I read each day. And this is what this little key is. This probably feels low to some people, and honestly, like it just is the reality of my life. I mostly read at night before bed, so I don't want to stay up super late reading. And there will be days though that like I do like a social media detox. So rather than pick up my phone, I pick up a book. And so those are the days that you'll see are like the 46 plus pages. On this monthly stats, I made little calendars with the days read, Monday through Sunday across the top. And then I also will track the total pages read and the number of books that I finished. So I feel like most people, January went pretty hard. I read every single day in January, not even meaning to read every single day in January. Like I didn't set that as a goal. It just happened because I just had that New Year energy coursing through my veins. And then you'll see that after the first week of February, I fell into quite the reading slump. Womp womp. I read a total of 30 pages in February, 58 in March, and 0 books finished. April, I'm kind of coming out of my slump. I'm kind of getting back into it. And then May is when I decided to actually start my reading journal. I started it like the second week of May, and went along. And so yeah, May, read 3 books, started killing it again. And June, as of recording this, I'm doing pretty awesome in June too. So I'm hoping to keep this energy, these 3 energies going, and leaving these in the dust. I've already finished 2 books, so this isn't even up to date yet. So I finished 2 books so far this month. This is my book bingo spread. The prompts for this are kind of an amalgamation of lots of different book bingos that I found on Pinterest, found on YouTube. I opted in for was using my book stickers and only cutting off like a little sliver of the sticker to create a little door. So that way I can still see the prompt of what the book fulfilled, all while keeping it to 1 page. This spread, these next 2 spreads come from Wicked Reading on YouTube, and I just adore that channel. And these 2 spreads were kind of the first ones that I saw that were different. Everyone else, I feel like, had kind of like all the same sort of spreads, the 24 and 24, the book bingo. And these 2 next spreads were very unique. I'd never seen anyone else do them before, so I love them. This spread gave me so much drama because I made these perfect little craft paper envelopes, and then I wrote along the sides the categories, and the writing was so awful. I think I got a little bit cocky and was like, oh, I've been doing so good with my hand lettering, like let me just try and freehand it. And I didn't use a pencil. Well, that was a mistake because it looked so freaking ugly. So I was like, oh my gosh, okay, what can I do to change this? And then I was like, oh, I have some hot pink tissue paper that will match this sticker really cute. So I'll just go ahead and make like little drop shadows of the envelopes and like hope that helps. Well, no, the writing is still hideous. I still managed to make the writing so ugly, and I didn't use pencil. I don't know what I was thinking. So like I wanted these 3 words to like end on the same place, so I wrote them backwards. Look how ridiculous that M looks. So yeah, this spread makes me giggle because it had so much potential to be so cute, and like fingers crossed next year I make it better, but whatever. So because I'm such a mood reader, I wanted to make a spread that like I could go to when I'm not sure what I want to read next. So I have For the Love of God, Lighten Up. Perhaps I've been reading some depressy stuff recently and I need something that's going to make me a little happier. Or like Let Me Learn Something. Like I said, I have a lot of nonfictions on my shelf. Break My Heart, something that is going to rip my heart in 2, and I love it, and it feels bad and good at the same time. And then Creep Fest. These are just some thrillers. And I made little emojis that I thought may fit with each category. So cute. And this spread is only books that I own. So it is directing me when I don't know what I want to read to books that I own. And then in the envelopes are the printed out book covers, just stuck with some brown construction paper on the back to make them a little bit more sturdy. There's like 3 to 4 books in each category. I love the spread. It's so cute. I thought it was so creative from Wicked Reading, and I just feel like I did not do it justice, but next year for sure I will try again. This next page I absolutely adore. You can see the page after this really leaking through here. So sad, but I absolutely adore this. Again, this came from Wicked Reading. I believe that their version was like divine feminine or something like that, and that just isn't a phrase that vibes with me. So I instead chose femmesfemmesfemmes, and it's all books with femme characters, femme stories, and I have 4 categories here. I have witches, and really this should be more like magic, but I just love witches, and practical magic is the best, and I don't know who else cares or is as pumped as me, but they just announced a sequel to Practical Magic, and I can't freaking wait. But anyway, so yeah, so this is another spread that is all books that I own. It's not books. Oh, and I don't think I mentioned that in the last spread either, but none of these books or the books in this spread are in my 24 books of 2024. So these are just things I go to if I'm really not jiving with anything on that 24 books of 2024 list. So anyway, back to the categories. Female rage, and I wrote myself like the angry black woman trope, but Angela Bassett is so hot in this scene. I just had to use this picture because, like, excuse me, how dare you. This next one is suburban ennui. I feel like this is probably literary fiction, but I just love the phrase suburban ennui because it's like housewife boohoo, which is like, yes, please. And then I have girl power over here. I made Barbie my whole personality last year, and honestly, it still kind of is. I just watched the director's cut a couple of days ago, but I am obsessed. Barbie was so freaking queer-coded. I have Closer to Fine lyrics listed for this one, heavy girl power, feminism, etc. listed under here. So yeah, I really love this spread, and I'm already thinking about what I want to do differently for next year. And so I think next year I'm going to do the girls, the gays, and the theys, which I'm already really looking forward to. So silly me, that's 6 months from now, but I'm already excited about my 2025 reading journal. So next here is my table of owned books. My table of owned books. I found this font on Pinterest. I'm so sad that it so greatly bled. I absolutely love how this turned out. I just have my star rating, title, author, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, and then the genre. So yeah, you'll see when I have read a book that I will rate it. This final spread is just like BookTube, Bookstagram, Book Talk Recs. I haven't really added much to it, but I wanted it to be the final page. So I'm gonna continue to just utilize the back pages. You can see the bleeding was so bad here because it has such proximity to the back cover. So wowzers, it really is rough here. So I might have to like rip this out and redo it. I don't know, maybe I'll get over it. But the last thing that I have here is just this little pocket that I added with some craft paper that has all of my, not all of them, but like some of the stickers. These are Summerween stickers that I got the PDF download only on. I thought about getting the actual stickers for Summerween, but I didn't want them to be like a different sheen than the stickers that I use in my book. So I wanted to just be able to print them out myself, which just sounds, again, but I sound like such a perfectionist, and I really am recovering, I promise. But yeah, so these are just the freaking cutest little stickers. So I'll link that video down below. I'm going to have a video coming up soon of the first 6 months of monthly spreads from my reading journal. So please hit that subscribe button so you do not miss out on that. And yeah, now let's just do the quick flip through. A reminder, that was filmed before all the bleeding occurred. So you are gonna get to see what my sweet journal looked like in all of their glory before disaster struck. All right, book buds, that's gonna do it for this video. If you enjoyed, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of the future content that I have coming your way. My next video is going to be all about my summer TBR as a mood reader. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you next time. Bye.